No, no, no. The arena can't go there.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, your number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I am your host, Robyn Leonio, alongside Matthew Jacobson. We want to thank everyone for making the show your first listen every day. We are free and available everywhere you get your podcasts, including now on the Sirius XM radio app. We've got a great show on today's episode. We're going to kind of break down some proposed arena locations by you, the listeners, and just you Coyotes fans or other outside people who propose arena locations in the Valley, and we're going to tell you why exactly they cannot be.
Yes, and this will primarily be aimed to people maybe like in Saskatchewan or Vancouver or something.
No,
where it's
these
like,
are all Valley-based locations.
Well, yeah, but it's like those people are like, oh, why doesn't it just go here? Put the arena here. We're here to explain why that doesn't work. Why that doesn't make sense. We are here slightly sarcastically because we do like having a little bit of fun, obviously, but educational. We want to have a resource to point to whenever it's like, why don't they go here? I can actually explain that. So, do you want to start off with the one that everyone says the most outside of downtown Phoenix, and that's Scottsdale, Arizona? I feel like this one is the most interesting because of the history there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that is a huge starting point, a really good starting point.
And I have the map brought up. Just for anyone listening, I have a second tab with maps brought up, and every single time we bring up a location, even though I'm already familiar with it, boom, I can zoom in, zoom out, run around, and be like, yeah, where would you like to build? Oh, that's actually owned by this. That's reserve land. I apologize, Robyn. I wanted to make sure that context is out there.
No, 100%. Like, because, for example, there's a lot of area that's like, let's say along the 101. That's like, if I'm not there, it looks like completely open. Nope, that is that is the Indian community right there. So that does not count as Scottsdale.
Yep. So, looking at Scottsdale, running around, obviously there's some, golf courses and whatnot. You're not buying that up because if you were going to, the offer would have to be so ridiculously above property value to make it worthwhile that it wouldn't be worthwhile for the Coyotes. Everything along the 101. On the west side of the freeway, there are some patches that are either likely not owned by the Indian communities or like it might be a little borderline. None of them are big enough. So the 101 corridor would pretty much require a partnership with the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. And then when you look anywhere else in Scottsdale, I'm going right from dead center and looking around, it is so densely packed. It is borderline Tempe in it being landlocked that there just isn't any big available spaces. So what you would need to do is buy land for redevelopment. And correct me if I'm wrong, Robyn, most of the development in Scottsdale is either relatively new or pretty darn new, and you're not exactly going to be buying that land for anything that would make it worthwhile if you're paying above market.
Either that too, or I'll even add one more. It's land there would be so expensive because it's so ideal to be at, because you're by, let's say, because I'm looking at, like, for example, an area that's like, right across from the Fairmount, the Princess. It's like, come on, no, that's just not going to happen because the Princess will instantly shoot that down because they don't want their land. Like, even again, there's nothing wrong with an arena. We love it, but they could potentially change land value in the Princess size. And they're like, yeah, no, we don't want that. And that's the only thing But other than that, a lot of Scottsdale is pretty darn new of area in terms of development areas that would be like suited to build that's already on developed land that the Coyotes would need to buy up. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and I wanted to look at one more specific area in Scottsdale. I was trying to find it. I was right in the same area. What about Westworld of Scottsdale? Because technically, I think the land mass should be big enough. If you bought all of it and demoed it, why would they sell? Because again, I'm picking up hypotheticals to knock them down. No one has told me, oh yeah, build on Westworld. But what I'm saying is, why would? Because it's close to Ice Den Scottsdale, where they already practice. But why would they sell that land?
And there was another problem with Westworld and Scottsdale. It's like, yeah, sure, if you live in Scottsdale, it's pretty easy to get to. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it is so gosh darn out of the way. It's even worse than Glendale.
Well, if we put it in perspective, you zoom all the way out, because the 101, a lot of people don't know how this works. So the West Valley bedroom community, I've said it over and over again, you go to the East Valley to work. So the 101 it's a big loop. All right. So you go north, you go east, west, and you go south. So, and then you also intersect with the 10. But when you zoom out and look at it, where Westworld was, it's so far north from where like downtown Scottsdale is. Now, Paradise Valley is a little closer. A lot of players and athletes and famous people live in Paradise Valley. It's a very nice part of Phoenix, but it's so out of the way as well for people living in Phoenix, people living in Tempe and Mesa. While it is technically closer than Glendale, how much more of the out of the way do you want to be? Because that was a huge problem in Glendale. And if let's just say, for example, Westworld was purchasable and it did happen, you sell it, boom. Okay, but how much of that issue do you still want to persist because it's still out of the way and you only have one freeway to get there? Whereas anywhere else, even looking at Tempe, you can take the 101, 202, the 10 should shoot you off over there. There's the
60 will help get you there.
Yep. The 143 is a little out of the way, but like you can use it, I think, to cut through certain areas here. You have plenty of, we're trying to say is you have plenty of options. If you did, for example, take Westworld, because lower on the 101 corridor that we've said is perfect is much closer to downtown Scottsdale. Places like Westworld are much farther north. You only have the one freeway. You only have the one method. And there's also some mountains and stuff that make it a little harder to navigate getting around, to be like, hey, I don't want to deal with the main traffic. I'm just going to, go a couple extra miles east and then cut up north or whatever. Like, it makes it a little more difficult to do that.
But sure, if you live in the North Valley, you'd probably love that. You'd love that idea. But we rarely ever talk about the North Valley because the North Valley doesn't exist in our eyes.
Look, the North Valley is pretty bougie, and they're fine with driving in general. So it's like, it's fine. Let's get it, ideally farther south along that 101 corridor or into Tempe/Mesa. But that's why Scottsdale doesn't work. There is nowhere to build. And because of how desirable the land is, it wouldn't be worth it to buy to try to redevelop. And also, depending on how you're buying land, it opens up different headaches and doesn't have to go to a vote to rezone. And even if it's just a rezoning vote, people are stupid and probably going to think it has something to do with the tax break. Even if it was just a rezoning vote, no, too much. I already have a headache and I'm stressed out. All right.
But that's why Scottsdale cannot be. We'll get to more areas within the valley where the Coyotes just absolutely cannot move to. It just doesn't work. After we hear from our sponsors.
Yeah, this FanDuel won't stress you out. All right, think about Coyotes Arena stresses me out, but FanDuel won't stress you out. Get ready for the NFL season with an incredible offer from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now it's the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
So let's continue, Matt, and talk about just arena locations that just doesn't work.
Gilbert. Let's talk about Gilbert. I love Gilbert. All right. My dad used to have a house
Craig.
out there. The very nice area. I had some friends went out there. One of them, we would like eat popsicles and play Dragon Ball Budokai, right? Like literally great memories there. It's literally the Glendale of the East Valley because it's so far out of the way. It doesn't work, and also like it runs into a similar problem with like the Westworld.
Is it Glendale or is it Peoria of the East Valley?
Peoria, because Peoria is a little more bougie, a little nicer. Maybe like the Surprise. And most people that are listening don't know what Peoria or Surprise is unless you go to spring training. So there you go. Gilbert just doesn't work. Chandler could, depending on where in, but Gilbert is kind of a little farther out there. And also, when you zoom in, there aren't very many big plots of land. There are some. There's ways to get it done, but do you really want that again? Especially when you could just be in the heart of Mesa or Tempe or somewhere bordering Scottsdale instead.
Yeah, Gilbert, you run into the same issues as Glendale, because let's say those that live in the West Valley want to come over to watch a game, the commute would just take too long.
We don't care about them poors in the West Valley. They don't buy tickets unless it's a $15 Tuesday night ticket.
Look, it takes me, I want to say 15 minutes to get to Easy Ice Gilbert from where I live in Mesa. And like, I'm not even that far. And I feel like and 15 again, some of you are like 15 minutes, that's nothing. Like, like to a lot of people, that gives you, for me, it's a short distance. Yeah. 15 minutes is nothing. Can you imagine the more you go out, it's going to really add up.
Here's a little bit of context. Ideal conditions, especially when I was going into work at Mullet Arena, it's pretty ideal. I'm going west, or I'm going east when most people are going to start going west or still be settled in at work. It takes me about 30, if I'm going a little over, the speed limit that I should be, 30 to 45 minutes in ideal traffic to get from where I'm at in the West Valley to Tempe. All right. That's pretty far. If you're in Mesa and it's taking you 15, 20 minutes to get certain places to cities that are much, much closer, it kind of shows a little more compact, a little more it's going to be a pain, a little more maybe that's not the ideal spot for it. Just maybe.
Plus, really, the only way to get there from like most of the other parts of the valley is the 60 and the 202. That's the only other ways you can get there. And
the 60 gets bad. Especially like I feel like it doesn't even matter the time of day. The 60 is just a freeway I don't want to use. Like what I used to see the 10 as is just what the 60 is. Anyway, Gilbert off the map. Chandler depends on the area, and Mesa. I think Mesa works perfectly. All right, I like Mesa, but I would prefer to go more West Mesa, get into the Tempe area, because Tempe, minus being landlocked, which is a problem, Tempe really was that perfect area.
Yeah,
but let's get a little.
Speaking of Mesa, though, real quick, because I feel like this is a really important one. The location of what once was Fiesta Mall. We talked about it as a potential location a while ago, and we even tried I even tried to promote it multiple times. It's getting demolished now too, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's getting demolished. It must mean something." No, another developer is taking care of that.
Yeah, that was a thing that was already in the pipeline, but I don't think it was finalized when the Mesa mayor was pushing it earlier, because obviously if it's not finalized yet, and also you want the Coyotes there because it's going to bring more people coming there consistently compared to whatever development is probably going to go there that might be a little more like community focused. So you're essentially targeting the same pool of money as opposed to taking potential money from other cities within the state to bring over, or if people are traveling in from Minnesota or Winnipeg or whatever to watch a game. But yeah, Fiesta Mall, while it was, it's a little further east than I realized. I actually did get to go kind of out there, and I was going to Chandler to go to the mall, and I saw the Fiesta Mall location. It's a little further than I realized, but it's still more central than Glendale, but it was still a little further out. And as Craig Morgan said, paraphrase, but I'm pretty sure it's an exact quote, it was never a realistic option, which sucks because that was fun to talk about. I do enjoy
it was really fun to talk about because I really feel like that, that side of Mesa area could use some revitalization. You can really kind of have some fun out of it in being make a good district.
Mm-hmm.
Off of, it technically is not too far from that 101 corridor. It fits. It checked all the boxes. It just there were just too many steps that had to be made for that.
It was too many little things, and then also like the specific area it was at, like those freeways get backed up pretty heavily around the times anyway.
The same thing with Alma School. Alma School is a little too narrow of a road to be a handle of high volume traffic. I mean, especially that part of Alma School and Route 60. And some people are like, "Oh, just extend the light rail or get a streetcar down there." Like, do you realize how much public money that's going to cost? They won't go for that.
I wouldn't mind the concept of expanding it, but I kind of like how they're doing it around the old Metro Center, where like they're starting to build the trains high up. And I feel like if you keep the trains separate from the traffic, it actually does help traffic and not actively hinder traffic. But at the same time, for whatever reason, people don't like the actual smart investments, like trying to expand the public transport and whatnot. So
speaking of Metro Center, someone also put that one out there. I don't think we need to even entertain that. I don't even know why that was even brought up. It just kind of I'm at loss for words why someone even brought that one up.
West Valley kid, even though it's more like center West Valley. I will answer that right now. I lived on 35th Avenue in Northern for a while. It's where I actually had my only apartment that I had myself. Not a bad area. It's definitely like lower middle class, and people don't have a lot of money, but they tend to be a little nicer. They tend to be they keep to themselves. The closer you get to Metro Center is the closer you actually get to some of the not quite dangerous, but you get to some of like the areas you don't want to be at. So like people that have money and nice cars and whatnot don't want to go over there. It wouldn't work. There isn't a scenario I see where that location works, because it's also not even the right population surrounding it, because hockey is very much a luxury, very much so. You want it where there is more disposable income closer to it, not where there isn't, and there is no fit there. The land technically, but you also have like castles and coasters and this like weird community college thing and whatnot. Like it let Metro Center be what they're trying to do with it, to make it a little more like to do with
they're doing some apartment complexes there, right? Some like new.
I think they're building something on it. The Walmart is still standing and whatnot. It's just funny to add it as an anchor store, and then the mall died like 5 years later. But Walmart still stands.
I mean, yeah, those anchor stores are just super weird that just hang out. I think the same thing can be said about Paradise Valley Mall, right? Where it's like there's one store just sticking around, but the most part of it.
Paradise Valley Mall, I feel like would not have been the worst location, but I think they're already redeveloping it. And it's also it is still a little out of the way. It wouldn't have been ideal. They would have had some other problems as well, but that's at least a little. It's a lot closer to a lot of the people in that nice.
Yeah, you're right. You're
East
right
Valley
next
part.
to Scottsdale. You're not in Paradise Valley. For those that you're getting confused, it's a different Paradise Valley.
It's still Phoenix.
Yeah. It's still Phoenix, but it's like on the other side of the mountain that separates Phoenix and the actual Paradise Valley. It's complicated. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And let's do West Valley. We'll save Phoenix for last. Let's do West Valley.
All right.
So obviously, Surprise. It's a very nice part of town. Even further west than Glendale, it doesn't work. Peoria, I like Peoria. Doesn't work. It's even further west, northwest than Glendale. Just to list off some of the cities over here in the West Valley. Litchfield Park, very nice. Too far. Goodyear, pretty nice. Too far. Tolleson, not the greatest. A couple little areas. too far. I think I'm missing Avondale, also too far. If anyone, which I have not heard anyone say, I think one person might have said like surprised that I read once and I just kind of chuckled, but I also could be confusing myself. If anyone lists any of those cities, it's not happening.
If you are if you propose anywhere of a city or of a parcel of land between the 101 and the 303, you are going way too darn far.
Even like maybe the 17 might be getting a little far depending on where it's at.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But that's like so past the 17 is too far. Like, yeah, west of the 17 is too far, but west of the 101, getting close to the 303, that's way too far.
All right, now let's readdress Glendale. I am only going to say things that I know 100% are public knowledge or accepted facts. So I need to be very careful when I speak on Glendale. The Arizona Coyotes will never play in a Glendale-owned building again. That is a fact. That is very much accepted. That's not up for debate or dispute. There, however, is a clause for the company that manages the arena to purchase the building off of Glendale, reportedly for $10, the article that I found. However, someone responded saying that apparently it's $1, which doesn't surprise me considering while I could not find documentation to back this up, it's also kind of, I don't know what specifically to search for, but I did attempt to look it up. I was informed that the White Sox and Dodgers only pay $1 a year in rent for their specific spring training fields.
Okay, so you said that, but what are the odds that, I think it's it's ASM, right?
I do not want to comment on a company I may or may not work for.
I'm saying I'm just saying what are the odds that they even make would they could even make a purchase? And I don't even say you have to answer that. It's just putting a question out there for other people to think about. Like they're a management company. I don't even know if they want to even deal with that.
I can see it on both sides because a lot of people don't realize how busy we're getting in Glendale, how many acts we're getting and whatnot. I'm spending too much time a week there on average. I'd like an extra day off, please. But that's fine. I just stop showing up to work sometimes. I get my day off. But it's something where people in the East Valley, I understand why they might not realize what's going on over there because they really have been kind of like reinvesting into a lot of the shows they're getting. It's a lot, family-friendly stuff, but also like a lot of Hispanic shows. So you're getting a lot of the audience that is already in the West Valley or like the center, Phoenix area where they don't mind driving a little bit over there for these particular shows. So I could see it being financially viable, especially taking at face value. No, I can't confirm. I've not seen the financials. I'm not important enough. But if they're reporting that it's more profitable and generates more money now than it did when the Coyotes were there, I can see the arguments for it. However, I have no comment on if they would or not. But the possibility is out there, and that's the only way the Coyotes could.
An additional piece I want to talk about that similar. Yeah, sure. The arena can get purchased, but what about, you also have to consider the area around it, parking and other and everything else that requires an event to actually run for that venue. That requires help from the city.
With how many events they got there, I don't think that would be a problem. But I'm just saying that's the only way the Coyotes ever go back to Glendale. And given some conversations I've had, it doesn't. The opinion is that no one sees anyone involved with the Coyotes or the NHL being okay with it in general, even if this hypothetical happened. But that's the only way it ever happens. And you are asking for like 4 or 5 what ifs, and things have to go right and happen. Glendale is not happening. I will continue to tease it because it's funny, but it's not happening.
We know the Coyotes have said time and time again, their focus is on the East Valley.
Yep.
And
100%.
practically, yeah, they said they're looking in Phoenix and Scottsdale as well. But let's be real, the chances of them finding something there is pretty low, as we talked about. The Salt River community is still a technical possibility. We don't know all the details around that. And then there's Mesa, in which everyone's looking at right now. I think all eyes are on Mesa. So
we have one more to talk about, one more area. And also, if it ever happened in Glendale, it would be a temporary thing. It wouldn't be, but you're already going from a temporary to a temporary. It's a headache. It's not happening.
Yeah, that's too much.
Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum.
Yes, that is a huge one because a lot of people like the ideas. Oh, let's go back to the Madhouse where the Phoenix Roadrunners played. It was a great place to watch hockey. That place for a hockey venue is decades old. It's completely out of infrastructure. The land around it needs a lot of revitalization. The money it will cost to completely renovate it, because it's gonna literally require a from the ground up rebuild. It's just too much. It is not even worth it.
So, I can confirm this, and this is not from a source that anybody involved would know. There was interest in doing something Coyotes related at that building. There was a tour that took place, and the facilities are not up to standard, and it would have cost even more than the mullet renovations to renovate this place. Now, the land could work if Arizona, I think the city of Phoenix owns this land. It's state-owned land or city-owned land. It's one of the two, but it is government-owned land.
That's where the state fair is.
Mm-hmm. Because it was built for state fair.
Yeah, it is built for the state fair. Exactly. So it's there is a lot of things that has to go through that.
But would they ever sell? Like, that's the question that needs to come up here is, would the state, or I think it's Phoenix, would they ever want to sell this land? I don't think they would. What would be the point? And also, why would you want this where the main road to get here, it's McDowell, Grand, and 19th. It's an asterisk because it's like a three-way or like six-way intersection. And as me and my brother were joking, you don't want those nice drunk Canadians getting stabbed on their way out, because this is not a good area of Phoenix.
Oh no,
it just isn't.
That's like, that area just like, west of Central, between Central and the 17, like, and just north of the 10. Like, no, just avoid the area. Don't go. I'm
staying
away from that area. Yeah.
I won't go there. I was perfectly fine 35th and 35th and Northern, 35th and Glendale, that area. I ain't going nowhere near here if I don't have to.
Now, sure, I might be there when the state fair is in town, or when the Maricopa County Fair is in town, because I'd like me some fair food every now and then. Let me get me this, get me a deep fried Oreo and just have some fun. But like, in any other time, I'm not there. I'm never gonna be there.
And locals know what we're talking about. Locals know what the hell we're talking. And then Footprint Center, it would depend on Ishbia buying the team. So there you go. That's why the arena is not going to be where you think it is. The people that think it needs to be in Scottsdale or it won't work, I understand the basic logic. It doesn't work. The Madhouse, they would need to buy it and completely demo and rebuild. Probably not worth it. Glendale, there's no way in hell they will ever play in a Glendale-owned building again. Gilbert, too far east. Chandler, depends on where it would be. I don't see too many open plots of land. Mesa and Tempe, Phoenix, this area right here. Just draw a circle around it, and apparently this is different from other downtowns. Phoenix is very different. People drive into it. They don't typically like live in Phoenix. Most of the apartments and condos have gone up over the last, I think, 10 or 15 years. Like, it's got to be drivable from this little circle right here, a little oval shape from right about the 10 intersection with the 17 to Mesa right over here on the 202. That's kind of where it should be.
The ideal location is to be within a decent distance away from the light rail line.
Yeah, that's also a very good idea, because it's more if there's more ability to get to the building, you also give people options, even if they don't want to park down there close to the building. If people can't afford to drive down there, people have to rely on public transport. The more options and accessibility, the better, because that's more people that are willing to go to your games.
For example, for this last season, to get to Mullet Arena, every now and then I took the light rail. I live in Mesa. I took the light rail to get to Mullet. Easy. Same thing can be said if they're here in Mesa. light rail from Phoenix or from Tempe. Easy.
Although technically the light rail argument I think works for Gilbert because I think it ends right around like one of the borders of Gilbert, but we're not going to Gilbert.
Yeah, yes and no. I think the light rail goes all the way to Main and Gilbert Road in Mesa, which is like a few blocks. It's still like several blocks north of the 60. South of the 60 is where you actually get to Gilbert. So it's still Mesa, like dead center of Mesa. Oh, no, not even dead center of Mesa. Like that's light center of Mesa. But
yeah, there you go. That's what we got for you. It's not going there. Where if we listen it and you've been preaching it, it's not going there.
No. I mean, again, we had some. I mean, we had some fun putting some of our own proposals around there on similar areas and similar sites. But we can say after knowing what we know now, saying okay, can't be that site, can't be that site, definitely not that site. This one could work, but we'll figure it out more later, and then we'll decide later whether or not it works or not. Because we are, that's our job, right? We're here to kind of do all that for you guys.
Yep. Any final thoughts, Robyn?
No, I think I just got to say the best thing for me is like, yeah, those sites don't work, but let's get Mesa to happen. Let's get it to happen. That way I don't have to do much.
Here's your homework, kids. Like I said, the exact areas I told you to circle from Phoenix to Mesa, start looking in that area. If you want to be closer to where and then also obviously that 101 corridor where it makes sense. We've already talked about that, but draw that circle and start looking in there. That's going to make the most sense.
Yeah, 101 corridor near the Salt River land too. You can look around there too, and also from down to Mesa and Chandler. You can look at those areas, but
North Chandler.
Yes, North Chandler. Definitely. Like we definitely want to go. Like if you get close to the 202, you're going too far. The south part of the south end of the 202 in the East Valley. It gets the loop. It's complicated. But we're gonna want to go too much on the tangent. We're out of time. I want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including now on the Sirius XM radio app. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on the app formerly known as Twitter at @LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. It's Robyn with the Y_LEANO. Matthew Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask a question you may have. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.